Okay.
Good morning from Australia, and hopefully today we are going to have no tech problems. Everything's looking good this end, so let's just go. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Right. So thank you for joining us. I can see we've got a couple of people there. Today we're going to be talking about containers. Now, for anybody who's not really involved in all of the ufology world, you might be wondering what the word containers is all about. And for people that are involved, may be wondering why the word container is even used. So I thought we probably better just explain that. And I'm going to do that with the help of this book, which you all know very well by now, The Primer of the Zeta Race, which is a free download, and I'll say this again, a free download off of our website, which is thezetaconnection.com, all one word, which we have actually recently redone and put up as much as we can. So we've got like 6 free books, PDF form to download. So we no longer have to go trawling the internet for them, as well as we've collated, compiled together as much of the work that William did with Paul, with the articles that he produced, or they produced.
Yeah.
And there's currently 15 articles that you can securely download from our website too. Again, rather than try to fish them off the internet and not quite knowing what you're downloading. So if you go to thezetaconnection.com, you'll find everything there under published material. And for those of you that have been asking us about paper copies, we've gotten over our argument with Amazon and Paul is very slowly putting all the books back up in paper copy too, which is a very long process. It takes a very long time to do that, but they're available there at the publishing cost, most of them just the publishing cost, to put them in paperback, which isn't that much. If you go onto Amazon and you see books like Primer up there, that aren't within our beat, the Zeta Connection Paul Hamden section, you'll see them for stupidly overinflated prices. Like there's one up there for $80 the other day. Last week there was a copy of the Primer that was like $200 or something stupid. It doesn't cost that much. Please don't ever pay that much for one of our books.
Considering they're free.
They are free PDF downloads, and I think it's like $20 US to get a paper copy. Okay, so that's that bit done. But going back to the Primer and going back to containers, in the book that's been out since 2012, really long time ago, William wrote in the foreword and in the model of communication section about the words that the Zetas use. And the Zetas have been using the word containers to describe their bodies, as well as human bodies and other bodies, just bodies, since at least 2010, probably at least since 2009, and we don't have it recorded, we don't think any earlier than that. So they've been using that word for a really long time. And people say, oh, it's such a clinical word, or it's such a weird word to use. I guess, yes, it is if you're human, because we have a lot of
if you're human, okay,
emotion attached to the words that we use. You know, the fact that we go, ooh, containers is a weird word, implies itself that we've attached some form of emotion to that word, right? So we're all really comfortable with the word bodies. We're at that emotion of feeling comfortable. So I'm just going to do a costume swap and put my super glasses on for reading, otherwise I can't see the text in front of me. And William says, the Zetas may select a word that is not quite appropriate given the context. And he gives us an example. He says, a question was asked about how to test if one were in a particular energetic environment. And the answer to the question was, if you've given me information too of the level of awareness of the crisis, you would need to re-shine that you are in separation. Now, William says, notice the unexpected use of the words crisis and reshine. They're weird words to use, right? Apparently, William writes, the word crisis was replaced for the word test in the question. Although the use of the word crisis doesn't seem appropriate, it would be associated with test. Sometimes a crisis is also a test. Now, being somebody who has been tested by the Zetas on many, many occasions, I can definitely say a lot of those tests do feel like crisis, right? So, absolutely. He says, the sentence should have been, if you'd given me information too of the level of awareness of the test, you would need to clarify that you are in separation. He says the word reshine was taken to mean shine again, reshine, shine again. And in the context would have meant to clarify. You know how we like to say shine a light upon, to clarify something. So I think that goes some way to demonstrating the complexity of the language sometimes that the Zetas were using, especially in the very early communications with Paul. We don't generally have that so much now, do we?
The first few times that they actually came through, they spoke all the sentences backwards.
Yes.
Which was, people were going, we have no idea what you're saying.
Yeah. So the word container, I hope that's sort of given you a little bit of background to that word. And it literally just means a container for energy or soul. Okay,
so a couple of things. I've just been watching what's going on social media, and these are some of the statements that are being made by senior people that are quite well known, that basically souls are mined to run the simulation. Okay, souls are used and are harvested. Aliens take people out of their bodies. That there is a combined project that abductees can now not tell who's abducting them, as humans are working with ET to remove human souls. Now, I actually don't agree with anything that's being said. So all I know is this is what I'm hearing people saying. People are generally, I think a lot of people are just making stuff up at this point. That's okay. And that aliens and humans both have the capability of transferring consciousness into other bodies and containers. Well, there's some truth in that, but look, we'll talk about it in regards to. We're going to start off with just talking about humans, because this is the best way that we can understand this. When a person is to be born, then you're sitting in spirit realm, all right. Now, if you've not incarnated before, you'll be part of an oversoul. That shard of the oversoul will separate, come out of spirit realm, move into the cellular structure of the child that's to be born in the womb. And then, of course, that means that the container, the human container, has a spirit or a soul. And that we know, of course, that when the spirit person leaves the body, the physical body then terminates. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, spirit people have said to us that everything is a container. We asked them about it. We said, look, what is this whole thing about containers? And they said, well, think about it. Someone's drinking a cup of tea. It's not just floating in the air unless you're on the space station. It's actually in a cup. It's in a container.
Yeah.
The computer holds all the componentry that's required for us to interact with you in the audience somewhere else in the world.
I'll interact
it's,
now.
It's a container. Yeah, so everything is a container. The planet is a contained environment.
Spirit realm is a contained
Spirit realm is a contained environment. It is a container. So the word container is not just associated with humans or aliens. So it's got really nothing to do with it. It's just a general term.
Yeah, okay. It's an appropriate term.
Do you want to explain about the Zeta containers?
No,
No, you don't want it? Okay. So we'll move on to the Zetas. Now, the Zetas, they, as far as I'm aware, live for around 1,500 years in their physical form. But it can be less. It probably could be more as well. But they have the ability to consciously move from their container to another container. Well, how do they do that? Well, they take some of their own original genetics. So they don't take it from the clone, they take it from the original source. They create the container through, is it maturation? The word? Yep, through maturation. And after 3 months, generally the container is formed. Once it's formed, it's actually got no consciousness whatsoever. And then the transfer process takes place. Okay? Now, that's the Zetas. They don't have to be in a container. They can be outside of their container if they want to. So they can leave their physical form, and you could liken it to an out-of-body experience.
Yeah.
Okay. But when they go out of body, what they do is they go into the hive mind of the race, and they can stay there for as long as they want. The container itself is put into stasis. It's put into a cylindrical tube full of fluid, and that obviously, because the Zetas actually use the plant-based sustenance process on the skin to feed themselves, that fluid then feeds the body, and the body still has all of its normal functioning components, but does not have the consciousness required to actually speak. So that's them. Now, when they want to have a child, and a Zeta couple only ever have one child. All right. Basically, what they do is they take some of their own genetics material, they put it together, and they probably have much more advanced process than CRISPR, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then once the child is maturated, and not in, because of course the female Zeta, if you could say female, they have no womb, right?
That's right.
That's right. And so basically the consciousness of the two Zetas, right, is then a portion of it is blended together like a hybrid mind, like spirit and extraterrestrial, have a symbiotic relationship. But the Zeta minds come together and form a mind of a child, but the child's mind has a lot of information that's then placed into the container, the child container, and then of course the child's basically, and this sucks really, it's for about 3 days they're given a bit of a chance just to sort of acclimate to the physical body, and then they're sent to school, right, and where they stay there basically 24 hours a day, right,
for weeks on end.
For weeks on end.
Yeah.
And they obviously grow into being adults over some time, and it could be, I don't know, a couple of years, I guess. Of course, there are times that they come back home as well. It's not where they just sit stuck in school for the rest of their life. I've actually been to one of these schools. It's really interesting, and believe me, some of the technology that they teach is amazing as well. So just the other thing, if there's any questions, just type them in capitals, all right, so that we can actually see them. All right, so have I missed anything in regards to that?
I'm just trying to recall a conversation I had with one of the Zetas through you. When the child is in stasis, they are in communication, aren't they? They're not there in
When a what?
When the child is in the maturation chamber.
Yeah.
They are in some level of communication, aren't they? They're not there in isolation.
They are
there in isolation.
Yes.
I'm sure they said.
Yeah. So
back in my brains
look
now.
it up if you want. There's so many volumes of books. We can get things wrong as well.
There is a question there. Trish says, "What
does stasis?
What does being in stasis feel like?" Yeah.
Well, you don't know because you're not there.
Yeah.
that's the whole point of being in stasis. Like if you said to somebody who was in a coma, what was it feel like? They would say, "How do I know? I can't remember anything."
And I think on occasion, very rare occasion, people are aware.
Yeah, it
that
could be.
That might have been a different state.
Yeah, a different state. So we've talked about the Zeta containers, and we've talked about the Zeta children as containers and how they're created.
But I think I just want to point out that, okay, so the child process is obviously very different to humans. But in terms of a human being and a Zeta being, and in terms of their containers and their consciousness, at this point, really the only difference is the fact that the Zetas can leave their container at will, whereas humans can learn over a long period of time, or maybe they might be naturally born into being able to astral travel. It's not the same level of leaving your container. But, we always think about things like in terms of differences, but I like to try and find similarities as well. And I think that's one similarity, is that we're both a race of containers, and the Zetas describe the humans as a race of containers that hold consciousness.
Yeah.
So we've got that in common, right?
Yeah, and the other thing is I was seeing on the internet that people were saying that that the Greys are in charge of the afterlife, and when humans leave their physical bodies, that they just get recycled back to the earth. That actually doesn't happen at all. There's a lot of fear around this sort of stuff about people not having control over, their transitioning in the spirit realm. That just isn't going to happen. The Zetas have said that they never ever control what goes on anywhere near spirit realm. They won't enter spirit realm, and that goes for all the other races. Seems to be this unwritten universal rule that beings are not allowed to enter into spirit realm, and that's because if they entered into the spirit realm, the frequency of spirit realm would change, and spirits would not be able to enter or leave spirit realm, and that would mean that there would be no more people being born.
Yep.
Okay, so that's really important to understand that. The other thing is that when say that they want to travel, sort of travel on craft, and it's going to take them, I don't know, 6 months to get somewhere. What they do is they put the container into the craft, and what they then do is they let the craft go there, and then they basically populate the container.
Yeah.
Once it arrives.
Yeah. No need to waste all that time on board.
No, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, so where are we up to? I've just got to get my notes here. My laptop's decided to turn itself off and on.
I said we weren't going to have any tech problems today.
There we are. We definitely are having technical issues.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
I think you just missed a whole chunk.
Yeah, I did. Okay. So the question is, what happens if a Zeta container gets damaged? You can answer that.
Well, they can grow a new container.
Yeah, okay.
In the simple answer.
Yeah, but
they're not. I mean, when we talk about their containers, they, for all intents and purposes, they look the same, but they're not. They are specific to that individual, right? So they have a copy of their container would be created, and if in the meantime, whilst if their container was uninhabitable, they would move their consciousness back to the collective process, stay there, wait for their new container to be maturated, and then they would move back in.
Can children do that?
Children have, it's sort of the same process, but they wouldn't move into the collective consciousness. They would move into a technology, and I think I remember asking them about that, and they said it would basically just be a copy of their normal everyday life, that they wouldn't know much difference, to avoid any alarms for the child. So
Could be likened to
Yeah.
a singularity, where we're
Yeah.
talking about uploading human consciousness to a computing system.
Yeah.
It'd be the same type of process.
yeah,
They don't want the child to be part of the hive mind.
not till it's grown up.
Not till there's enough telepathic communication training that's been given and maturity to actually be part of it as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you can imagine, actually, that's a really scary thought. Imagine being in a collective consciousness with a whole load of teenagers.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
That's what we're talking about.
Next. So what we can do now is, what about other races like the abductors trying to create containers? This is a fairly hefty subject.
Yeah. So the abductor race is one of the 63 facets of the Zeta race. Okay, so if anybody relatively new is watching, there isn't just one type of Zeta. There are 63 different facets to their race. 63 different facets based on things like function, the way they look, all different aspects of life. It doesn't their separation into these facets doesn't seem to be uniform, but for one particular purpose. It's not like they were born on a different part of the planet, or their skin color is a different color. That they can have multiple different skin colors even within the same facet. You can see 4 variations, and then a variation of that variation of color too. So it's really interesting the way it works. I can't remember what I was talking about. He's doing his thing.
We're going to tell you that
I've gone blank.
Yeah,
Thanks for that.
that we've got a lot of energy here, and I can tell the Zetas are here.
Oh.
And basically what happens when they're around is you lose your ability to think.
Yeah, I've gone completely blank. I've got no idea what I was talking about.
So basically the abductors are taking
thank you.
cellular material from humans.
They've got the one. That's right. So what I was coming to say was that they left the collective of the Zetas an extremely long time ago. We don't have specific years or millennia or dates or anything like that. All we know is that along the evolutionary path of the Zetas, they left an extremely long time ago, and because of that, they lost access to the technology that the Zetas use to recreate their containers and sustain their containers. Because of that, their containers are starting to go backwards. They're starting to reverse. The Zetas are generally all what we would call vegan. That's my word for their process. They don't use that word. The abductor race is not vegan. They can't be. Their containers can no longer be sustained on that same diet that the rest of them eat or consume. That the way that they reproduce is also at a different evolutionary point to the other facets of the race as well. And so because of this, they are looking to try to find alternative ways to sustain their containers. Right? Yes.
Are you okay?
I'm fine.
Are you still struggling?
No, I'm just waiting for you to take over because I don't know how much you want to say.
Well,
how much we're allowed
the thing
to
is
say.
the point is just think about it. A human has a soul or a spirit, okay? And for a person to become a hybrid, or if a person is a hybrid, that means that they're in a relationship, their spirit is in a relationship with another being, and it's called a symbiotic relationship. Now, the abductor race is looking to try to create their own containers that have some level of sentience, but they can't do it, and they'll never be able to do it because the spirit people don't want to help them. No spirits wanted to go into the containers that the abductors create. They don't even want to go into Zeta containers, right? And so the way that you're animated or your physical form is animated is because the spirit person that you've got with you, or who you are really, and we'll say your higher self, it animates your physical form. And so we know that basically some races are trying to clone themselves, and not many of them. There's only one other that I know of, and those clones are generally the only way that they're animated is like through some sort of artificial intelligence.
Mm.
All right.
We a little while ago, there was this big, how there are trends in extraterrestrial conversations on social media, and one of them was that the Greys were trying to steal our souls, and we did a video about that, to talk about that at the time, which you can find on our channel somewhere. It's not possible. It's just not possible for all the reasons Paul just said. But why have you mentioned spirits in this context?
In the context of
the abductors looking to
because
sustain their containers.
Yeah, because you can create a clone and it can be alive, but it has no consciousness, and they haven't developed the ability to be able to transfer their consciousness into the physical container that they've created.
So
they're genetically mutated to the point where they're actually got a really big issue.
So what we're saying is that the abductors are trying to create clones using human material, but it's not possible because the human spirit doesn't give its permission. I think if people realized how powerful that is, that your soul, who you are, the essence of who you are, has the power to say no to these processes, people wouldn't be in fear.
And Ala said that she noticed that the light shifted in the room. I did as well.
Yes.
Did you see that?
It went really dark.
That's so funny.
And then all the lights came back again.
You can only imagine what goes on in this house. All right. Yesterday I was just sitting there, and this spirit just appeared and stood right next to me, and I was just like I was pretending not to see it, so I was just sitting there like this, and in the end I just got up and walked away, and so you just don't know who's going to pop in, like that, and that's a problem because you can be reading a book or talking to somebody, and then something happens, or like with the Zetas. You could have an experience where suddenly you looked at the clock and it's 10 o'clock, and then you're sort of doing something for an hour, and then you go back and you look at the clock, it's still 10 o'clock. You've been taken completely out of time.
We had that.
Which we've had.
It was so disorientating.
And it's so disorientating.
Like,
and you'd go, hang on, you could have just misread the clock. We actually looked at the clock 3 times, and we looked at 2 clocks.
Yeah.
And they both said the same thing, and then like an hour later we went back and it was still the same time.
Yeah.
And the batteries weren't flat and all this sort of stuff, right? Yeah. And then the Zetas explained that they had given us
an experience.
An experience of missing time. Well, I never asked for it.
Well, it wasn't missing time, it was gained time or something.
Generally,
very strange.
Generally for other people, it would be missing time. But because they gave us back the hour.
Yeah.
Because they've got the capacity to do that. All right.
Life is never dull.
We completely went off track there, but that's all right. And type your questions in. That's fine. Now, talked about that and that. Now there was, like back in the old days, here goes the light again. So basically, back when some craft had crashed and the bodies were found, by the military, and basically the Zetas have the potential to just leave their body if they want to, but they have to get permission to do so.
Yeah. Can we talk about that? Are you thinking about that incident where we were contacted? And
No, I wouldn't talk about that incident.
okay. All right. We're not gonna
But
talk
I'm
about
just
that.
saying, generally, if a craft crashes and there's beings on board, they'll stay in their bodies and do what they can to support humanity or whatever, maybe. But at some point, they'll want to leave their physical form and return back to the race.
Yeah.
But to do so, they've got to get permission to do so,
Yeah.
which is fine as well. And they don't know how to get permission, so it's not a problem. Okay. Nala says our lives sound fascinating. That's actually one word to describe it. It's actually can be quite difficult. Actually, I did a video yesterday with Rodrigo Chetto, and if you have a look at that video, it goes for about 30 minutes. I go through all of the different screen memories. That also is part of a playlist on our YouTube channel.
You mean
Right.
screamer?
Yeah, screen memories.
Yeah.
And looking at all the different screen memories and how they work, which is really interesting. So the other thing is, and we're coming sort of to the end of the list now, which is quite good. And not every show has to be an hour either, all right? Especially when the Zetas are in the house. The Orions also use cloning, but guess what? The Orions are not who people think they are. That's the problem. Basically, and we're not going to talk too much about this because we actually don't like talking about this race, to be honest. Basically, there's a group of beings that project themselves through the containers, and the containers themselves are just clones. Those clones have no physical ability to think for themselves or do anything like that. So they also use containers as well.
Yeah, it's a really peculiar situation. It's like there are core beings to this race.
Yeah.
And they create these containers, these bodies that I believe people mistake for greys. But
look at what's the name of the crop circle.
There was a crop circle, I think it was back in the 80s, at the Chilbolton Observatory, just outside Winchester in Hampshire. And it's you might remember it's the one that actually depicts an extraterrestrial face.
With the eye.
And there's a circular grid of glyphs that they managed to translate. And it was actually a message that said, beware of the deceivers and bearers of false promises.
And then it had the three Orion's belt dots.
Yeah, it had the 3 stars of Orion's belt. And if you look carefully at that crop circle, you'll notice that the eye of the being is not solid. It has a pupil, very much like ours. And I mean, I don't want to just blanket say if you're working with a grey race and you see that they have pupils, then you're working with the Orions. But you probably are. But people also have to be aware that the Orions are very capable of showing you what they want you to see as well. And this is where being able to recognize the energy of the beings that are coming to you is so important, because we can't always rely on what we're being shown, whether physically or in our mind's eye.
The problem I have with them is this, and just to be very clear, rather than actually have a discussion with you, they just try to implant people. That's all they ever do. And that's because they're not sentient.
No.
They're just like some sort of artificial intelligence. All right?
Yeah.
And I think that's probably enough said about that race, because it's like other races I've come across, like Alpha Centauri. But the minute I saw these beings, I was like, you have to leave the house. Just they weren't not even allowed to stay, like for 2 seconds. As you have to leave, because you just know intuitively that you shouldn't be talking to those beings. And of course, you're going to get a lot of beings that want to come and interact, with people, especially now disclosures taking place and drip feed and all the rest of it. But as more and more information comes out, more people are going to be trying to connect with beings. And this is really going to be a massive global issue as people try to do this. All right, and just if we can leave anything with people, it's be very careful what you try and do, because there are a lot of things that people need to be aware of in regards to contacting beings. All right. And now the last thing that I want to talk about is the Arcturians and the eighth dimension.
Yeah, we went through a couple of years of having quite good regular contact with them, with one Arcturian being.
Yeah.
Who really came after we had worked with a lot of Arcturian hybrids. And it was like she was assisting the connection with their hybrid cells. So it was a very interesting time, and we gained a lot of information from her, and we've got a video about that information on here. If you just go to the most popular videos, I think it comes up. It's just called the Arcturians if you want to search for it. But their dimensional framework, do you know, it's not really that too dissimilar to here. In all honesty, it's just on a different frequency. So you know how we talk about we use the radio analogy, right? So
which is the best one.
The best one. So we talk about, just imagine the old school radios. It's got 3 bands, and what we don't talk about is that within those bands are, of course, different stations,
channels.
Right? So different channels, yeah. So so our band, our band has many channels too. So our band is, we perceive ourselves in this 3D solid existence, but we know that there's a spirit realm, right? So we move into that frequency when our containers no longer work for whatever reason. We also know that we have a 4th dimensional process that we refer to the astral. So 3rd dimension is here, 4th dimension is astral, 5th dimension is what we call spirit realm. Okay, so within our band on the radio, we have those 3 channels. Now, the Arcturians actually have exactly the same, with a few differences. So they have a collective consciousness process, very much like how the Zetas describe theirs. The Zetas told us, I believe, that their collective consciousness resides within a 5th dimensional framework, much like our spirit realm. And the Zetas have physical 3D bodies like here. If we were to fly a physical craft and just keep flying and go and land on one of the Zeta home planets, we wouldn't need to do anything to our frequency or vibration in order to be seen or to see them. Now, the Arcturians are on a different band. Okay, let's just go with the frequency levels. They're on band 9, we're on band 3. Okay, just because. And on band 9, which is where they can have their collective consciousness process. They can also exist in physical, what they perceive as a physical form, like here. And I think that's the only 2 processes we know about them. But the difference between them is that they can move to and from their physical and their collective consciousness just like that if they want to. I guess much like the Zetas if they want to as well. So yeah, they have containers that they perceive as physical just as we do.
But so do spirit people. So
Yeah.
the spirit people see themselves as physical as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
if you're in a specific dimension,
Yeah.
you're going to perceive yourself in
Yeah.
some way. It's self-perception.
I guess the difference is whereas we could fly a physical craft and go land on a Zeta planet and interact with physical Zeta beings without having to do anything, if we flew the physical craft to where the Arcturians exist, we would not see them. I mean, they perceive us. They're well advanced, but we would not perceive them. In order for us to be able to perceive them, we'd have to go up in frequency to a level that I don't believe we have the capability of doing with any technology that we have right now. So that's the difference in those bands on the radio. We have to dial up to be able to access their frequencies, but once we're in their band, we'd have access to physical and non-physical, just as we have here in spirit realm, and the Zetas do with on planet or on craft and in their collective consciousness.
There's a question there. Can you see that question?
I'll do my best. Can an ET consciousness inhabit a human container without a human spirit counterpart? I.e., when a human is born, can the spirit inside be 100% ET, or does it have to be a hybrid? Well, when a human is born, when a baby is born, it has to be born as the hybrid process. So the Zeta or other race consciousness has to seek permission from either the consciousness of that baby, if that's possible, or the consciousness of the parents of the baby. And in doing so, they all agree that the baby will be born as a hybrid consciousness. And at the point of birth for the Zeta race, the Zeta consciousness will then join the human consciousness, and that will form the human baby. Do you want to answer the second bit of that question?
Well, the thing is in the book Alien Interaction Trilogy,
yes,
it talks about what's called the conditional states.
Yeah.
And there's 3 conditional states. And the third conditional state actually discusses that question.
Yeah.
Basically, you have to think about this, because it's not just Zetas or Palladians or Arcturians or whatever that are incarnating. It's also celestials.
It's
okay,
and a whole multitude of races that don't have names or anything. Yeah.
And then you've got races that actually don't even incarnate. They just exist on planet, but they exist out of phase with humans. Okay, but can a pure extraterrestrial form exist in a human body? Well, the problem is, where do they get the body from? All right, and then of course, what happens to, because these are just theoretical questions, what happens to the spirit that was with the body? Okay. The spirit would have to relinquish control of the physical form, and probably wouldn't want to do that anyway. So that's probably more of an ethical question. But, so let's just clarify something. We know the names of some of the races. Okay, so we'll say them. Yeah.
Of
the Zetas.
Of the Zeta. We only know 7.
Oh, we only know 7. 7's better than none. All right.
7, maybe 8.
All right.
You want to talk about the different ones?
Well, just so that people know when we're talking about things that we actually are able to name the different races. If I said to you, the naturals.
Right. Okay.
Right. Okay.
So the information we get comes generally from the technical race.
Technicals. Yeah.
Okay. So the Zetas we work with predominantly are the technical Zetas. That's one facet of the 63. Another facet are what we originally called the biologicals, and we changed their name to the naturals or the organics when I think the whistleblowers and all the Congress hearings in the States came out, and they started calling extraterrestrials biologics. It's like, no, that's got nothing to do with what we're talking about. So we swapped to saying organics or naturals. So that's another one. And they are such an interesting race. We know quite a bit about them compared to the others. We know that there's a whole facet of the race that's just dedicated to philosophy. We just call them the philosophicals, because what else can you call them? We know that there's a whole facet of the race dedicated to ethics, so we call them the ethicals. Like, that's what they do. They don't do anything else, and they make ethical decisions for the entire 63 facets.
And so so let's say there's an ethical dilemma. Okay, we won't sort of name any of the dilemmas, but we have been part of one of them.
Mhm.
and it took them 3 days of debate
Yeah.
with us, which was very tiring.
Were you up for like virtually
I was up
all
for
night long for
three
3 nights?
nights.
Yeah.
And then once the decision was made, the decision was rolled out right across the race. We're talking trillions of beings. So,
Yeah. There's another race that we were given the name the scientists. When we've had interactions with them, they've been doing whatever they're doing. They always leave a specific mark. There's another race that when they introduce themselves to you for the first time, they have a silver face mask on.
all the
And it's absolutely it's devoid of any shape or indentation. That like there's no nose, there's no mouth, there's no ears, there's nothing. It's just this pure chrome silver. So we just call them the silver face eaters.
But don't they have also that they have those lines on them and everything?
No, I think you're thinking of something.
It must be another race. Yeah. Okay, so there's this other race of the Zetas. But then these ones, when they come, they've got like symbols on, and these could be generally masks as well that some of them would wear. But one thing I know is, and I'm pretty sure it's in one of the books somewhere, that the first time that a Zeta, and we'll only talk about the Zeta race, comes to a person, the introduction will be done with them wearing a cloak.
Yeah.
All right.
But that's only the technicals.
That's only the technicals as far as we know.
Yeah.
If the being doesn't have a cloak on and you've never seen a Zeta or a Grey before, it's not the technical race.
Yeah.
And this is where people are going to find out over the years that this whole disclosure thing isn't what they thought it was. Syann and I have sort of passed the disclosure stuff, and basically it's about relationship. And if extraterrestrials sort of landed a craft today and they came out and started talking, you'd be trying to work out how to create a relationship with them. They would be trying to work out how to create a relationship with you. And you'd realise that it's quite a difficult and very challenging thing. The other thing is that some races, not particularly the Zetas, but some races have a good personality, and they like to sort of be more jovial, like the Arcturians, or even the Palladians. That they're very much
more human,
much more human in their, and the Anunnaki, and of course the Anunnaki, they're very, very humorous. They like to joke around, as we know, like tell you stories and all the rest of it, and a lot of it's really funny stuff. So, especially when they talk about their race, or the way they talk, to their own people and all the rest of it.
But not the Zetas. They don't even understand humour. We've had a couple of public sittings where somebody's tried to tell them a joke, and it's just completely lost on them. And then you've got the Zetas trying to understand what's being said, and oh my goodness, it causes absolute chaos. It's so funny. So we always say, no jokes. Please don't try and tell them jokes in a sitting. It doesn't work.
All right. Are we done?
Yeah. Unless anybody has any last questions, I don't think there's anything more that we can say about containers. I think we just wanted to say that the concept of containers shouldn't be as peculiar as it sounds when we just remove the kind of weirdness of the word. We're all just containers. We're all inhabited by spirit consciousness, and that spirit consciousness carries on when our container can no longer carry on. We are all just a race of containers, just like everybody else. And
before we go, could you imagine, like, your pets? I mean, they've all got a specific consciousness related to a specific form. You don't see human consciousness sitting in a rock. Okay, you'd have no ability to externalize your senses. Okay, so with animals, dogs, cats, fish, whatever, everything has consciousness, but it has a specific consciousness related to the type of construct that it's in. And the Zetas have been very specific about that. But you know what? You'll have to read some of the books. They're free, and there you go. All right. So we finished for now.
I think so.
We are. I think
I'm zoning out.
she's zoning out.
The
I was
the
so
energy's
zoned out
really
before.
strong.
I just thought I have to end the show so I can go to sit somewhere else.
Maybe you need to go and sit.
All right then, no problem. All right. Well, thanks everybody for coming, and
Thank you.
leave some comments under the video. Which
If you've got any questions,
Yeah.
we will answer them.
we answer every question that people ask in the comment sections. All right. All right.
See you
Okay.
soon.
See you later. Bye bye.